What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. This week we are doing Rebellion's Call card of the week for Maria. Obviously this one's running a little late, but you know what? Better late than never, I always say. Yeah, so this one's pretty exciting. As usual, already read through it, got the highlights. I am going to have, talk about a little bit of the rulings, I guess, in this one. I got some card choices for it, and then I'll give you guys my pros and cons as we go through it. Rochelle's here. Tell us more about the Rebellion's Call. I guess protagonist, and the art is again Kobayashi, which I'm a big fan of. I've been seeing this art a lot. So, Maria, forward, 2-cost, warrior and rebel. Category 2, the forward of cost 2 or less, other than Maria, you control, gain 2,000 power. When Maria enters the field, choose a backup. Choose one backup you control, activate it. It loses all its abilities and becomes a forward with 8,000 power. This effect does not end at the end of the turn. So right off the bat, seems this is the light legendary, by the way. So very, very, very cool. Yeah. So it goes on to talk about that. Ideally, you want to take other 2-drop backups to buff it, so they become 10,000, which is cool. Also, how it supports it could be paired really well with Aerith because you get the buff. It'd be like a 4K buff, and then she would effectively be at 7. And then buff your other 2 costs, right? So Zidane, the new Sophie, Palom, and Porom, and then that supposedly this won't be as big of an issue, right? But it's still not bad. It's still like the buff is obviously based around having a 2-cost heavy deck, like forwards with that, but the rest of it is a really good effect all on its own. This other part too, it talks about how we've had this effect before. Mira is, it was a beautiful full art hero card that never really had a chance to shine. But the biggest difference is that Maria's ability doesn't end at the end of the turn, but this as opposed to Mira's, which was until the end of the turn, right? And one of the cool, combos that Rochelle mentions is that as a forward, you can return it back to your hand with stuff like Chocobo and be able to draw it, also while freeing up your backup line, and still, very good stuff, right? So yeah, so a lot of really strong potential with this card. Again, the first text is I guess the red herring or the outlier, right? Because it's confined to that 2-cost thing, right? And so if your deck doesn't have enough or a relatively fair amount of them, you're not really getting the most out of it. Which is why it's recommended that you target your 2-cost backups, so when they become forwards, they're stronger, right? If we're looking at the rules compared to Mira, right? Where is it? If we're comparing it to Mira as well, then I assume the same rules apply for all of these, right? And I'm going to pull that up right for you right now. So, all right, Mira. So, a character that's made into a forward using Mira's ability will retain its original type. For example, for backups, this card moves into a forward. It will still be able to generate CP. So, very important, right? And what I mean by that is that you effectively can activate a forward. You can activate the backup and reuse it as CP that same turn, right? So just keep that in mind. And then characters made forwards will be able to attack as long as they've been there from the beginning of the turn, right? Kind of like that monster rule that it technically has summoning sickness the turn you play it regardless, but if a card is there from the beginning of the activation phase, it will be able to attack. So if for whatever reason your opponent is thinking, oh, I have one blocker or whatever, he only has one attacker with no haste, playing Maria will let you swing with a backup, right? Like at 10k. So it's a very, 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 very really good pressure pusher, right? Like it's tough, right? Because now you'd have to anticipate your opponent always having an extra forward to attack during their turn. So something to keep in mind. I have a couple of cards here that I thought I could bring up to, get the flow, get the brain juices flowing and ideas for the deck building process, or what you can expect, or what I think you can expect going forward with people using the new Maria. So off the bat, I just want to highlight Reeve again, right? Because this is kind of the thing I was talking about, right? Like we said, I was really big on Reeve for the Null. last week, and I'm even bigger on it now, right? Because when Reeve enters the field, choose a forward of cost 2 or less in your break zone, play it onto the field. That's it. No stipulation other than the 2 cost, right? And we obviously, 2 cost. And play on the field as long as it is on the field. Reeve does not activate during this turn. So 2 things happen here. One, you bring Reeve right into active status, right? So you don't actually lose that CP, and he becomes a forward. So if he dies, you can play the other Reeves in your deck, and he's already able to generate CP immediately. And you don't have to worry about him not activating during the active phase, right? So that's it. Just blanks him, right? It loses all its abilities. So very good idea. Other places I think Mira will find a home into will be stuff like Sophie's. I know Sophie's down to 1, but getting Sophie to that 10k is going to be easier when you can buff her by 2, and then bring in one of your Earth or Water forwards, right? That's literally 4k right there. So very good. Stuff like Soul too, right? Going back to what I was talking about, I'm never gonna stop looking at this card again. And giving it as your opponent assuming you had a forward already, or you have something else to play with haste, and Soul's out or something like that. Some weird scenario, right, where Soul ends up being there, but you need someone else to be able to party attack so you can start generating crystals. Maria does that for you, right? She lets one of your backups come out to play pretty much. And so Soul is able to generate you crystal value that turn. I haven't gotten into my pros and cons yet, which I will after this, but Maria's biggest thing, I think, is that she's going to bring more jobs to Final Fantasy. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of cards that require you to have your forwards job count, right? Or forwards of a certain job and stuff like that, right? So things like Bart's are gonna with Maria alone, Bart's is already like at his first ability, right? Now, if you bring in there's only currently 1 backup, I think, that has 2 jobs, but as long as the 2 job thing continues to like spread into our backups, Bart's is out. You play Maria, who's Rebel Warrior, right? Let's go back for a sec. Yeah, Rebel Warrior. So he's already at his first ability. Then your backup, again, the only example I believe is one of the 13 Vanille, I want to say, that she's like Saboteur and Lassie. Let's say your deck has that, right? You would make her a forward. She has 2 jobs. Bart's is at 5 jobs already. So I think, again, the fact that it's a forward, sure, yes, but I think Maria bringing more jobs to the front line is very important. I think she's very good for the economy in that regard. Same thing with Scion, right? Assuming, like, you play Scion this turn, and let's say you have enough ways to damage, but your Samurai in the back has, needs to attack, or, you don't have that turn to wait, that luxury to wait, right? Maria will bring in your forward, have him attack, and then do the cleave damage already. Same thing with Morrow, right? He's looking for something else to swing this turn so you can draw. There's a lot of effects that start generating here, right? And I think you guys can see where I'm going with this. One of my newer favorite cards of the current set is Ishtola, right? So you can bring your Scion backups to the front line, have them tap, and give other stuff haste. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's all these options now. Or when you bring him, Ishtola has another forward count for her first ability, and which is reduce by 4,000 for every Scion. Things like Titus too. I know it's kind of a light conflict, but I just wanted to paint the picture, right? Stuff like this. If you bring a forward out, your 10 things, he's cheaper, right? If brother is out on the field now with 8k, Titus is one cheaper. This new Yuna too, right? Choose a forward until the end of the turn. It loses 2,000 for each forward you control. Assuming you had her out already, and your opponent got rid of all your other stuff, because without her she's kind of useless. Maria brings in 2 forwards right away, and so that's something else to think about. Another one that's been very overlooked for a long time, which I'm a big fan of. We had an engineering deck for a while. Sid Hayes. A lot of the engineers are in the back row, and so. Not that it changes the jobs, because this one isn't specifically forwards, but now your other engineers can attack and you can buff an engineer, right? So just something to think about. Same thing, Cloud of Darkness, for each forward you control, reduced by 2,000, and then when it attacks as well. I put Yura in here to search because she has 2 searchers. You have Joseph and Hugh. It has other searchers obviously, but these are the specific ones, right? The job searcher ones. Oh look, I lied. Joseph has Rebel and Monk, but that wouldn't solve the Bart's issue here. So things like Tifa too, right? Because there's a lot of Category 7 backups that we could put out to the front line, get plus 2k, excuse me, and Brave now. And then the forwards you control cannot be broken by summons or abilities that don't deal damage. So there's a lot of effects that require our forwards, that help our forwards, right? But oftentimes we've been limited to having our jobs in the back row. And so, you know, this is very, very exciting. I love this card so far. And then, you know, you can play her off Guy if you wanted to. A job Rebel of cost 3 or less and played on the field. Sure, great. We'll do it right away. I think even Leon can bring her back from play, the 3-cost one. But other stuff like that Ramza, one of our old favorite cards as well. Ramza was able to is cheaper for every forward on the field. So you know you have a forward, play this, bring out a backup. Ramza's now 3 cheaper, 3 less or whatever, and then he'll have his buffs as soon as he comes out, or you know. And more recently, the Soiree members too, right? Elvis we're always finding ways to play this guy again, right? So, you know, it started with Althea, then it moved on to Titus. Now you can make him a forward. He can join the front line. He'll be protected by Edel's ability, right? He won't need to die, but you can choose to block with him early on, let him die, play your other Elvis. It goes over. Sorry, man, my nose is a little drippy today, but yeah. And then just stuff like Hilda, right? And just build for each forward you control, draw up to 4 cards. You know, there's a lot of stuff like this that we often overlook, but Maria is going to kind of open up some of these possibilities for us. I even had the Turks up here, right? Because we have our Turks in the back row sometimes, and I know there's more Turks coming this set. So, yeah, man, it's just there's a lot of potential with this card. It's one of my it's a really good reveal. I think it's worthy of the legendary tag. And yeah, that's about it. Again, I'm going to go into my pros and cons to highlight this. Pros, cheap. We know, like we love that. Changes the game. Like I said right away, like from going from no forwards to 2 forwards and for 2 CP is absurd, right? You can actually pay for it with. You can bring the forward out, that you can choose the backup that you paid for Maria with, right? So not only will it activate and you refresh CP, but now you have a forward as well. It's so good. Like I said, potentially frees up backups, right? Because once it dies, it'll be removed from your backup line and you can play something else, right? So those Earth decks for me that need all the searchers or whatever and things that don't break themselves, Maria helps out with those decks as well. I already mentioned the brings more jobs. And as you know, we all need more jobs around here. Like I said, plenty of searchers, good support because there's already rebels in play. And this set is going to be called Rebellion's Call, so I assume there will be even more support. And other pro is that it's a permanent effect, right? That forward will be out regardless of Maria's condition. The cons, the only thing I could think of so far is that it is going to fight for the light and dark slot. So how many of those you play throughout the game is slowly dependent on what's the meta revolved around, right? Or it could just be something that your deck goes into, right? Because she might even fit in an aggro deck, right? Like something that just 2 backups, let's go, and then when I need to, I'll make my backups do things for me, and then close out the games. And then she's 2-cost. As much as I like the idea of a 2-cost thing, there's also plenty of 2-cost hate, right? There's the Thunder Drakes, Owzers. Everyone has access to Exodus now. There's just too many things that are and like we said about Null, I could put it here, right? Weak to all fire cards. And it also matters how important that's going to be, how big fire is in the meta as always. So lots of things to think about here. Please share your comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking for her. What's going to be your favorite thing? Yeah, she's a really good card. So I expect to see a lot of play with her. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for me. Looking forward to the next one this week, also later this week. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.